Simon's biggest hit is bridge over troubled water. In God's signs, a bridge is the same metaphor as a door. It is symbolic of the spiritual realms connecting with the earthly realm. The word door is equal to 52 in simple English gematria. The 52nd prime number is 239. Simon is predicted to die 2,390 days after his prophetic dream on January 15th, 2019, in which an angelic voice instructed him to produce his Seven Psalms album and instructed him to name it Seven Psalms. By the way, he wrote a note after the dream, and he has it framed now. And when people come to his studio to interview him about his new album, he shows off the framed piece of paper that he wrote on after he had the dream. So we know the date of the dream because it's dated on the piece of paper. Okay? And it's very prophetic, obviously. This is a dream from God. It was January 19th, 2019. Exactly 2,390 days before Simon's predicted death. But Simon is symbolic of a bridge and a door, and the word door is equal to 52, and 239 is the 52nd prime number. But also, God pairs in his big picture of signs, patterns, and connections to confirm the signs and connections the numbers 23, 9, and 44. And I know this because I have been studying his big picture of signs, patterns, and connections from morning until night for more than full-time hours for more than 7 years. And the way in which God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works is it works on the principle of second and third and multiple witnesses confirming a matter as the Bible says is required. And if we think about it, one simple way in which he would provide second witnesses for us is through pairing certain numbers together, such as 9, 23, and 44. The basketball president wore 23 in high school and was inaugurated as the 44th president in 2009, 9, 23, and 44. Also, the inverse of the mark of the Antichrist is described in Ezekiel chapter 9, and the mark of the Antichrist changes a person's 23 pairs of chromosomes. That's why they are marked, because their chromosomes have been altered with an additional something, which is snake venom. That's another story though, but that's what is in the thing, okay? And that's a fact, and believe me, I know far better than you the reason and purpose for this prediction that is from God. It is to prove the controversial things that I am saying in these videos. In other words, when the prediction comes to pass, case closed, end of debate, no more discussion. It is the mark of the Antichrist in its current form, does not need an additional something to go with it, such as an additional form of false religious worship or technology. In fact, for those who are wise, it did come with a form of false religious worship, and it does not require a supposed new age of dispensation after supposedly all quote-unquote Christians will be raptured. In fact, this is the Nicolaitan doctrine that Jesus said he hates and is coming to make war with the sword of his mouth on those that teach and have the works of the product of this doctrine. And that's why the vast majority of quote-unquote Christians have already taken the mark of the Antichrist. It's judgment for this doctrine. Now, and the prediction will prove this. That's the purpose of this prediction. I don't want to repeat myself. I know the reason for the prediction. I'm the one that's relaying the prediction. I know the reason for it. It is to prove what I just said. That is the reason. It isn't simply for you to go, cool, you knew something ahead of time and God was showing you something. No, it is to prove these things that God has overwhelmingly proved in his true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is only being explained on this channel, and this big picture of signs, patterns, and connections will be proven to be true when the prediction comes to pass. Anyway, we have the 9 and 23 in this number, obviously, which is another reason why it's prophetic. Also, 52 is 2 times 26, and H226 in the Strong's Hebrew concordance is the word for prophetic sign, which means, in other words, this number of days connection confirms this is a prophetic sign. What are we talking about? This dream. It proves that this dream is a prophetic sign. When the prediction comes to pass that Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2,390 days after this dream, it will prove that this dream is a prophetic sign from God. Okay. The theme of the album, which was instructed to Simon to make and name it 7 Psalms, the theme of the album, which, by the way, is an interesting piece of music, I recommend listening to it, is crossing over a bridge into the afterlife, the spiritual realm. And again, Simon's bridge over troubled water is symbolic of a bridge connecting the spiritual realms. And specifically in Revelation 9, the demonic realm to the earthly realm, the bridge and the door that's opened with a key. And I explained earlier in the first paragraph how Simon is symbolic of a door and a key and a bridge. Well, anyway, 7 Psalms is about this. 7 Psalms is about crossing over into the afterlife, as in a bridge to the spiritual realm. So this is amazing, right? Because I've been explaining how Paul Simon's death on 8/1, August 1st, will point to Revelation 8:1 and the sound of silence that was observed in heaven because of his song Sound of Silence. And that's followed with the 7 trumpets, and that's followed with the opening of the bottomless pit to the demonic realm through which the demons cross over a bridge into the earthly realm. Well, that's encapsulated with the 7 Psalms, because that's the theme of the album, crossing over the bridge into the afterlife. Paul Simon obviously made this album at this time of his life because he's 83. Well, he made the album, well, he had the dream 6 years ago, so that would mean that he was 77 at the time. But you get my point, is that he's at the stage of life where he's about to cross over the bridge. And now he will cross over the bridge, at least it's predicted that he will, on August 1st, 2025.